We are rolling. Welcome to the last meeting of the week. Lorenzo Antinori. I wanted to have you here for a very long time. And for the record, I'm very thankful that you made it because you are one of the busiest persons this year. And so I am very appreciative of that. But I want for the record that I acknowledge his talent way before he became the best in Asia and the number 2 best in the world. So it was like, I think the first time we talked about the podcast was a couple of weeks before you got the number 1 best bar in Asia. And the reason why I wanted to talk to you, precisely to you, was that I had been telling friends that I had a problem with the scene in F&B for a very long time. My job takes me to other cities couple of times per month. I spend, I don't know. I made a calculation. I think I eat out around 500 times per year between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the problem is that I had seen an evolution in what a bar was. Where I come from the northern Spain, but let's say its culture, Spanish, Italian, is similar somehow. When I was little, the bar was very linked to the person, to the barman. You would go to the bar. First of all, we have a bar culture, number 1. We go to the bar because we like the barman. The barman is somehow like our cousin, our psychologist, someone who knows my problems, he knows what I drink. So it's very personalized. Then with the arrival of social media, that kind of became the old school thing, and it was all about experience. Everything had to be nice and very Instagrammable and so on and so forth. But then, as a spin-off of this, let's say, arrival of a new way of communication, people realized that social media was for people, which makes society. So then spaces that focus more on the person were more successful. If you look at Nike, for example, all of the posts, they have one athlete. They don't have only the product, no? And that happened also with the F&B. The bars, yes, they were a concept. Each one has its own thing, but they were very linked to the person behind. So it was like going back around in circles. And in this case, you impersonate not only this evolution, but also in a way go back to the basics a little bit when it comes to conceiving a bar, no? Which is Bar Leone, and you'll tell me later if you want why you made the miracle of getting number 1 best bar in Asia on the first year. But I would love to have in this time that you share with me and you share with the audience a little bit of the secrets of what took you here, why did you make certain decisions, and how you see the scene nowadays. But first of all, Lorenzo, you are from Rome. Why did you choose first of all, I would like to ask you, why did you choose to be a barman or a mixologist or however you want to call it?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. I think I delayed many times the disappointment, but I'm glad to be here. No, look, I think bartenders, if you ask, I think 90% of the bar people, they will never tell you that was the choice, of their life or for their profession. I think most people that I met that are colleagues or sort of like famous bartenders that I admired and I still admire till nowadays, when I asked them, why did you start working as a bartender? They always told me, because I didn't have anything else to do or I didn't have any other sort of like talents. So I studied for a short time law. I did law school. Although on my CV it says that I have a full degree. That's what I did, to get the job in Korea. When I moved to Korea, I needed to have a certification by the university for the visa. Okay. So I basically made a fake law school degree. Yeah. Yes. But I did law for 3 years, and because I was very much so into sports, and for some reason I thought that would have been the easiest way to get into management, agent, athletes management, sort of like that sort of profession. So I wanted to become a sports agent.
Yeah.
And a few people from my family, nobody's has been a lawyer in my family, but they were like, oh, maybe, you got to deal with contracts and stuff like that. So perhaps do law. And I did law, and I was okay. You know, I never been a brilliant student. I think law is very methodical. You need to remember a lot of things. You need to really study. You need to also be creative to a certain extension. But I didn't love it. And I remember that there was that I took a year break, and I went to Australia for a year, just backpacking. And in that year, I worked in a bar, just bar backing. You know, I quickly realized, you know, suddenly from, you know, the desk at the university, I was in a totally different environment where you have beautiful girls, music, booze, and I'm like, I want to be here.
Where did you spend most time in Australia?
Sydney. I spent
Okay.
most time in Sydney. Yeah.
Do you remember you worked in several places, or do you remember?
I remember the first place where I ever worked, which was called the World Bar.
Okay.
In Sydney. It was actually, it's been it closed down a while ago, but now it reopened. Very iconic place because it was in a neighborhood called King's Cross.
Yes.
Was the red light district back then. Now it's been sort of like cleaned up.
After the lockout, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's very quiet now. But back in the days, now I sound like I'm from the 70s.
No, but 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, 2011, you would see people get really like stabbed in the street, drugs, prostitutes,
Punching, yes, from behind,
fights. Yes. I'm not that way. It doesn't sound like a cool place, but it was actually very cool for me, especially for me. You know, I'm a kid from Italy, 21 years old. First time I see that sort of like environment, landscape. But anyway, the bar was there. It was a party bar. Nothing. I never touch a shaker. I just clean table, clean ashtray. But I sort of like the vibe, and you know, I realized that was something different that I never experienced. So when I moved back to Italy, I was sort of like trying to finish my third year of law school, and I took a job in Trastevere, in this little bar, and again, like making cafe. Didn't really make any cocktails, you know. I was just like helping and busting table, but I enjoyed it. And the guy that, you know, I really enjoyed the time with the guy that was there, that was sort of like the owner running the show. He sort of gave me this quite interest in cocktails, because he had this collection of cocktail books. And he started to sort of like, we would start to read recipes, and then for different reason, one day he got sick, or I can't remember what was the reason, but he was not at work. He told me I had to sort of like run the show by myself. So the first drink I ever made was a mojito, and of course I messed it up big time, because you know you're nervous, and you know. And I remember I made a mojito with tonic water, with gin, and you know, and so on. So that was my first cocktail that I ever made. And then after that, I decided to took a bartending course in Rome through the summertime, and in that period, I would look on internet, on YouTube, and I would always stumble upon these famous bartenders back then. You know, they were all working in London.
Yeah.
And so I started to get passionate and interested, and I realized that London was the place to be. And then I quit law, and I remember I told my mom that I would move to London just to pursue this sort of like bartending career. You can imagine my mom, you know, from lawyer to bartender. She wasn't very, I mean, everybody was very concerned, but and then it turned out well.
Turned out well, 100%. I understand. I understand how your mom felt, and I admire that you did what you did, because it takes a big pair of balls. But wow. But yeah, it's true. A lot of people that I now actually know in Asia, they came. It's like London is the cocoon of bartending. You spent long time in London?
5 years and a half. 2011 till 2016. Actually 17. Sorry, no, 16. Because then 16, 19 I was in Korea. Yeah. Or 17, 19 I was in Korea. I'm not very good with dates, but I think I spent 5 years in London, 5 years and a half.
And let's say when you decide to go to Korea, are you already, is your name already somehow built within the scene? And why do you choose Korea out of all places?
Actually, I didn't like. My name was sort of. I was starting to build my reputation in Europe, but then I was headhunted by Four Seasons.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know where Korea was. I'll be honest with you. I remember the World Cup 2002. There was Japan and Korea.
Yes.
But when I told my dad that I got this offer in Korea, we had to Google. What the fuck is Korea? Like, we had to Google Korea. I didn't know. I was like, sort of like, I thought that Korea, I knew that was in Asia, of course. I knew that was near Japan, but I didn't really, I didn't have a clue. So, but I think that was the thing that intrigued me. And so I was headhunted by this company, and I was brought to Seoul with Four Seasons. First time I stepped a foot in a Four Seasons hotel in my life, even though I always work in hotel. Because when I moved to London, my only two places where I worked were the Savoy and another hotel bar. So Bar Leone is actually the first independent venue that I really worked full time in my career. But Seoul, my reputation was, I mean, I don't think many people knew about me when I moved to Korea. You know, it was very interesting because, like I didn't have a huge sort of like pedigree.
When you get to Korea, I'm very curious because Korea is one of those places that I think if they cover you blindfolded and then you arrive to the airport, you realize you're in Seoul. Did you go before saying yes, or you said yes and then you went?
They flew me like a few months before. I think, if I remember well, because I moved there in February, but I think they moved me in January for like a week or couple of days.
Okay.
For 3 or 4 days. And as soon as I arrived, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like,
it's a crazy place.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
go very often. It's crazy. I like it.
There are no English signage. There is no English signage. And I remember, like, I signed the contract, and then I was waiting for the visa, and I arrived at the airport, and I was like, this is gonna be a problem, because I realized quickly, like, this is not London. I thought, Korea, it's gonna be easy, or like it's gonna be like Tokyo, right? I've been to Tokyo before, and more or less. But Korea is a bit more extreme. So I think the ride from the airport to the hotel, from Incheon to Seoul, it's ugly, because
it's ugly, and you think they're kidnapping you, because after 40 minutes you're still on the road, and
and it's like almost like you're going through this very rural landscape where there is nothing. So I was like, North Korea, South Korea is the same. I don't know. Yeah, basically, where is this? Is a third world? But then, of course, I quickly realized the city is a very modern city, and it's a beautiful city. But at that time, it was a little bit of a shock for me. I remember when I arrived, that time when I spent 2 or 3 days, at night, I didn't know where to, they told me you can eat in the hotel, but I was like, no, I want to go out. And I asked the lady, oh, where can I eat dim sum? And I'm like, almost like, all the Asian food is all the same for me at that point, dim sum. And the lady, I remember, said, dim sum, we're not in China. And, but that was my first meal in Korea. I had dim sum.
You found the dim sum?
Yeah. She sent me to a Chinese restaurant, and and in my mind I was like, "Oh, that's amazing Korean food."
No. But it's now I am starting to feel comfortable now with Korea after 5 years that I've been traveling there. I am patient with myself, and I in looking for things. But when I find something, I try to go back all the time. Korea it's interesting because everyone thinks in Europe, we think about Japanese are the avant-garde Asians, but the Koreans are way more fashion followers, I would say. They are very early adopters. Let's say, what is your experience from changing from the British client to the Korean client? How is the change of mindset, if there is any, when you move to Korea?
I think every place you go, there is a different landscape when it comes to food and drinks, habits, of course, but specifically in my field, I think everywhere you go, there are different habits, there are different palates, different things that people like. I think in Korea, when I was there, I could feel that there was something was happening, right? And I could feel that there was a ferment. When I arrived, there were a lot of things not available. There were a lot of still a little bit like in shaping, in motion, and I think the scene was sort of coming up. From London is a very international platform, right? Especially when it comes to cocktail scene. You have travelers from all around the world. Definitely you had a lot of professionals that already had the experience, that work in London, they already coming from different backgrounds, from US, from Italy, from Spain. So you have a much more diverse landscape.
Yeah.
And I think diversity brings quality, brings expertise, brings a different approach. In Korea, when I went there were not many international people, professional working in F&B.
Yeah.
Most international people were teachers working in education, in admin.
Yep.
So I think that sort of like, I think the landscape was not yet, I would say, very open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
But not just open-minded in terms of like approach to things, but also like when it comes to understanding maybe certain flavors or certain trends, which was okay. I think with the time, the new generation of Korean bartenders lately travel, they got exposed to international culture, and now Korea is one of the best bar scene in the world because it takes time, right?
Yep.
So when I was there, I looked with lots of interest the trends back then, and they were very unique. They were very almost like there was a bit of a Japanese influence back then. Like the theater, the aesthetic, those rituals around the bar experience were very present.
Yes.
Now, after 7 years, you have a much more funk and sort of pop bar scene and F&B scene in general, because Korea became this pop cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it got so many influences from around the world, but also Korea itself influenced around the world massively. If you look at music, if you look at cinema, performing arts,
even fashion, the way they dress. Yes.
I mean, Parasite won the Oscar like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you have Peggy Gou, she's crashing it, the house music and R&B. And then you have Pink Black, massive phenomenon. And now you have Netflix show, and you have fashion. So I mean, it seems like Korea now is like the epicenter of the world somehow, right? The epicenter of anything cool. It's Korea.
Yes.
If you are Korean, you're
Gentle
cool.
Monster is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Italian, we are not cool anymore. So Koreans now are the coolest. It's okay. It's 1 year is you. I don't think Swedish will ever get the crown. But
let me stay on that. So okay, this is very interesting. So you say the Italians are not cool anymore. With a half a smile. But when Sara Biancaccio from Panglossian was sitting where you're sitting now, hello Sara. Hope you're doing well. She mentioned that it was precisely in Korea where her and I don't remember her business partner. Sorry, they were having a drink at Four Seasons and they met you, and I think I recall listening that you already had a certain idea for a concept of a bar when you were already in Seoul. You moved here with the Four Seasons, that I know. And then at a certain point, you stay in, it's Argo, the name of the bar, correct?
Yeah.
When do you decide to say, okay, I'm going to leave the hotel bar and I'm going to go for my own project? When and how do you conceive the idea of Bar Leone?
I think it was during COVID, because I think COVID was very disruptive for everybody. And I think I felt that I was a bit trapped in this sort of like corporate dynamics. Also talking to Four Seasons, I could see that there was not really much of a next step for me. I'm not very good. I'm not good at all with the financial side. As a matter of fact, we are alive at Bar Leone just because of my business partner, Justin. He's the one that sort of like, has the control of that side of the business. That's why it's very important to find a good business partner whenever you do your own venture or you go solo. But I knew that I would never be a GM, I would never become a hotel manager, so I was a little bit stuck. And then COVID happened, so we were all a little bit like sleepy. And then I met my business partner and my now business partner Justin, and just chatting. He asked me if I would ever open a bar, and I never thought about it because I was making very good money at Four Seasons. I was, I would say, smoking with the Marlboro in the office, working with the Marlboro in my mouth. This is how we say in Italy when you have easy life, like just I'm in the office, I show up at the bar, I tell people basically what to do, because that's the key, the trick in a hotel.
Yes.
It's like a pyramid. They gave you work, you pass the work to somebody else, and the other person passes it, and then suddenly nobody's doing shit. That's why it takes ages to do things in a hotel. But I was like, what? Maybe I'll consider it. Maybe I'll consider do something, and more we chat about it, and more I realized that I wanted to do something very different from all the other bars that I worked, and I realized that I really wanted to do something that I was excited about, and that would sort of take me back to what excited me at first, which was the craft of cocktail, which was this idea of sense of community, almost like going back to Trastevere where I started working, when I started to work in the industry. And it was this sense of community and fun, and sort of like take things a little bit more lighter, no need of having major concept or larger than life ideas. It was really about friends, family, good cocktails, good vibe, community. And I think, too many times I worked in places where the concept was sort of like the main pillar of the structure, right? And in this case, I was like, I think we need to shift away from that and really put the bar experience more to a human level. And I think that's how Bar Leone came about. And I also felt that there was not really an Italian bar in Hong Kong aside from Bella Lee, God bless it.
Which I feel is less and less Italian, because when I moved to Hong Kong, it was filled with Italians.
Yeah.
Now there is Gianluca, but I don't know if there are other Italians working inside.
Yeah, I think realistically his idea was to create this Italian bar, but then of course we are not in Italy, so you need to also adapt yourself to being in a different landscape. But I think Bella Lee is super fun, it's a great neighborhood bar, and I think they've been now an institution of Central, because they've been open for 10 years, I think, or something.
And they have survived everyone in that street, because everyone has changed in front.
Yeah. It's like a black cat. It's having lives. It doesn't die. It's like an islander of Central. And I think, so I think what we wanted to do was like maybe create an elevated Bella Leaf somehow, like we still want to be part of the community where we are. We want to be a neighborhood bar. But I felt that there was nothing like a craft cocktail Italian bar, or a place where there is a sense of lightness.
Yes, from the outside, number one, I feel that you had a lot of fun coming up with the idea, because yes. So I think there are a few takeaways from a client point of view, and again, I spend a lot of my time now in restaurants, but before a lot in bars, because I'm Spanish, and we have the highest concentration of bars per capita in the world, which is something we should not be proud of. But when you create a bar that in the Imaginarium looks like a bar, it's not taking you don't have to think that you are in the jungle or under the water or whatever. Yeah. Then the protagonism is on the cocktail. So it kind of like the cocktail tastes better, and I think the subconscious is telling you, okay, these guys are putting more attention to that. But at the same time, you took the typical Italian bar and you made somehow a caricature in the good sense, because you put a lot of elements that when I got there for the first time, I was smiling all the time, because again, I'm Spanish, but I lived in Italy, so for me things like like the Calendario Pirelli, or the old school, the Pop, the old school features from Roma, or the Sale Tabacchi sign in the front are fantastic. Now, do you think which type of client appreciates more those little hints, which is Italian pop culture. Italian customers or Asian customers?
Of course, Italian customer, they feel a connection with the space, right? But at the same time, we never really I think we wanted to create a place that is warm, that is welcoming, and we wanted to create a universe. So through the design, the pieces on the wall, the prints, the poster, we wanted to create this layered universe. You don't have to be Italian to fully understand Bar Leone. Of course, Italians, as I said, they will connect emotionally with the space because they know about a lot of things that we showcase there. But I think at the same time, for international clientele, they might not understand who is that person on the wall. But I think the combination of all those elements will create some sort of like intrigue and curiosity. And because of the space and the way it is, I think there is an element of comfort that the people would feel, because it's almost like stepping in somebody's living room, right? When you go to I don't know, if you go to David the grandma, she will probably have some prints and poster, and you feel automatically part of it, even though you don't know necessarily who are those people on the postcards or on the frames, on the prints, but it's like that you are entering in a different universe. And with Leone, we play a lot with nostalgia. I think the design that we choose, the lighting that we choose, we want people to step in a different world that is almost like a world from the past. And I think these days people get connected much more with those sort of values, because at the end of the day, you need to talk to people's feeling to make sure that they will come back. So, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to create this sort of like little time machine where people feel comfortable, where people would connect emotionally with, without the need of me explaining you what exactly everything is. It needs to be a natural process.
Yeah. I like the time machine thing that you say, because another aspect. Yes, again, let's start. Let me organize my thoughts. You go from this traditional nostalgia, that all together create a fantastic scenario backdrop for telling a story, because this is a dimension that you do very well, and I'm very curious about. Social media has been with us for 14 years maybe, but not for this. It's something that we have been moving on. I think we are in the early stages, and you understand very well, because Bar Leone and yourself too have become social media personalities. You you tell stories from many different angles. Somehow scrolling on the social media of Bar Leone is like watching a sitcom, because you have many different type of contents. So on that, you do it very well. So hats off to you, because I would love to have your talent on this and your consistency. Is this something that comes as like a second skin, or you have to put a lot of effort? And how involved are you in all of these activities?
Bar Leone Instagram is me. I do everything.
Okay.
I literally post.
Okay.
Now we have a lady, one of my colleagues, team members that we hired, and she mainly works as a host, but she also will start to curate the social media. But I think for me, social media, since I kind of started to learn about it, I understood that you need to make a choice. Either you decide to show, you go to the beach with your friends, the barbecue, your mom and dad, or you keep the social media as a tool to develop your brand and your platform, right?
Yes.
So I think for me, even my private Instagram, I sort of like, unless very rare occasion, it's always about showcasing who is Lorenzo Antinori as a personality, as a brand, let's say. Bar Leone is the same. But Bar Leone, what I wanted to do, we didn't want to focus too much on the cocktails, because I think most bars or most Instagram account or most restaurant account, they will showcase dishes or drinks or food or cocktails, but I think it's very hard then to get emotionally attached to that, unless you do some very cool content and you manage to get the audience attention. For me, it was more about exactly what you said before. I was reading about, Red Bull or Nike, or all these big corporate leading in their own fields. And, if you look at their social media, they never try to sell you the shoes. They never try to sell you the Red Bull can. They sell you the vibe. They sell you the story behind. So Red Bull, the Instagram is mainly about extreme sports.
Yep.
So the jump from the cliff, the jump from the airplane, the scooter, and because it's a beverage that gives you the wing, that gives you the energy. It's an energy drink. So they want to give you the idea that if you drink Red Bull, you can jump off a plane without a parachute, maybe. I don't know. Nike is the same, right? It's like, just do it. It's about being competitive. It's about, sort of like all that, right?
You're buying the self-esteem that you get when you do things.
Yeah, like winning the obstacles and all that. So Bar Leone is exactly that. We don't often put cocktails. We want to give you the vibe.
Yeah.
We want to try to sell you or connect you with the vibe. And the vibe of Bar Leone is Italian pop culture. It's movies, it's football, it's religion, it's art. It's moment of life, still a moment of life, very simple, that suddenly have a very special value or a very special meaning. It could be like, just when you drink a coffee and you put the sugar in the espresso and you just capture that moment. Or I think it's that, because I think in Italy we value a lot. In Italy, I think for me, as a growing up in Italy, there are a lot of moments that are very simple moments that are beautiful though, and they suddenly become very important. And I think our Italian culture, it is really founded on those when it comes to food and drinks. Small moments, but then suddenly if you propose those, if people from US or England, oh my God, the mortadella with focaccia, the sandwich, so amazing. And
it's so amazing.
Or like the frozen cappuccino. I mean, this is things that we grow up with, right?
Yes.
But that I never really gave any importance, because it's part of my daily based life. But it's those simple things, simple ritual that suddenly become important or suddenly become special, because especially on the eyes of somebody else.
Yes.
So with Bar Leone, we want to do that. We want to try to take the simplicity, but make it very special, very unique. And so it's almost like, as you said, going through a little bit of a series, a Netflix series or a sitcom.
Yes.
And you don't need necessarily to. I don't need to tell you what it is.
No.
You will interpret it. That's why our caption. If you read our caption on most of our posts, we don't say anything. It's just like tutto bene, tutto bello, whatever. Like you interpret it.
Lunedì chiuso.
Or bellissimo. But it's. Yeah.
No, it's fantastic. I think I don't know if that's a hiring criteria, but what I enjoy a lot when you do the mic'd experiences, and everyone in the team somehow they're able to work around as if nothing was happening, and then you get the best cuts, and those things communicate a lot. Like the podcast is not the job that pays my bills. So I work for another company and the marketing decisions don't belong to me. But if they belong to me, I will be doing exactly the same as you're doing. Because when you're there, even if I haven't been to Bar Leone, I think for a couple of months. Because I've been busy. I had a new kid. I've been traveling, but also you've been very successful. But even if I'm not there, I feel like I'm a part of what's going on in there. So I'm always connected to that. How much of a protagonism of a merit is this strategy in your success nowadays? Because bars normally they have a taking off period that for you was like a fucking rocket. You just went up. How much do you think it has to do with the way you communicate?
I think it's been important because it has been different from most bars in Hong Kong. I think I'm just talking regionally now, like where we are.
Yeah.
I think there are some example of social medias that I really like, that I follow. We decided to go our own way, and I think we got rewarded because it was very organic, it was very real, it was very raw. There were no really, I really wanted to keep that sort of realness, and I think that's why we got rewarded, and that's why people liked it. Because I think these days, people want to see the real shit. They don't want to see like too much constructed content, and so it's even videographer these days, they need to adapt themselves, because most of the reels that I shoot it with the iPhone.
With that, yeah.
So I think now we have a videographer that we have on a retainer. She's helping us with a bit more curated content. But for example, the last video that we posted, the reel where I have the microphone, and there is this reel that is like one night at the door with Lorenzo.
You bring out
She did it with the iPhone,
Yeah.
And we had a mic, and so I think we got rewarded because people liked the realness of it, and I think because not many other, I would say, entities have been doing what we are doing with social media, at least. I think there are some amazing bar, amazing restaurant, and there are a lot of people that are inspiring us. But I think maybe our approach was slightly different, and I think people rewarded us for that.
No, look, I'm normally I'm a bit skeptical when it comes to awards. Not for anything, but because I think that especially in the case of bars or restaurants or even hotels, I was telling this to David before. I feel like the conversation about which bar is best is a little bit like deciding that who's best, LeBron James or Michael Jordan. There are arguments to say one is best and the other one is the best. What I'm happy about for you is that the industry decided to recognize something that was a little bit different, that was a little bit more fun, a little bit more raw, more real. And I hope this creates a trend and some people take inspiration from you. When it comes to your particular persona, to Lorenzo Antinori, how have you been living all of the recognition of the awards, and how is your life now compared to 6-7 months ago?
My life is the same. I'm single, so if anybody listens to this podcast, come to Bar Leone, any female single man, but yeah, I think, look, I'm the same, I think I'm just busier, but just because we're a small team. I think for me, I believe in hard work, and I think I'm also aware that awards, they are something temporary. You are at the peak, and then another time you are on the bottom. So for me, I think we have this mindset that we are gonna enjoy this ride now, because now we are, of course, it's a popular bar and all that, but at the same time, we have to keep the feet on the ground, and I think the challenge now is like, it's not about the next award. The challenge now is to keep the consistency of what we were doing, because people have higher expectation. We don't have to change anything. Just make sure, just make sure that what we do is online with what we were doing before. But at the same time, I think there are ways to improve. I think we want to improve a lot of things. So my efforts now are, how can we keep the team happy? How can we keep the team motivated? And they're very happy now. But of course, at the same time, I know that in 6 months' time, we will need to feed them new motivation. And so I think, how can I keep my team and my ecosystem healthy and sort of in a well-being state? And then I think the other part is, how can we connect with as many customers as possible that travel to Hong Kong and want to visit the bar, and keep the standards as high as possible. I think that's really the goal. I think I've been living the same. I love competition, so I'm a competitive person. So for me, the day after the award was already that's it. We celebrated. I think I'm a big football fan, so there was this sort of connection with when AS Roma won the league, and the coach at that time was Fabio Capello, right?
Yes.
And Fabio Capello won a lot of leagues, and he was a winner, right? He won with Real Madrid, with Milan. He won
I
with
was living in
Juventus.
Madrid when he came, he won, he left.
He won twice in Real Madrid.
Doing the same thing, coming, winning
come
and
and
leaving,
go.
yes.
So he said that in Rome, the problem in Rome that we never won as much as in the other places was that when we won the league, we celebrated for like a year.
Maybe, yes.
And when he was in Milan, his player, like if there are some interviews with Maldini and Panucci, all these amazing players, they said Capello, we win, the day after we celebrate, we party, the day after the celebration we go back to the football pitch and we don't talk about, because then I think it's a great example of how to keep the focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's important to celebrate winnings, to celebrate recognition, to share it with the team. But I think also there is the moment when that's it. I think we gotta go back to the pitch. We gotta go back and focus on things that needs to be improved, and because otherwise I think we lose the focus.
Yes.
And I think that's what happened in football. That's what happened in life in general, right?
But you are very active, and you do things from a different angle. One, look, you reposted my post. We have friends in common, but we were not in contact before talking about this podcast. But you reposted my post when I passed by IFC and I saw the collaboration with Shake Shack. And I normally, I'm not, let's say, I said that maybe 5 or 6 times that I'm a fan of you, but it's not the way I normally behave. But when I see things that are great, that represent greatness, I recognize them. For me, so I took a picture and I put genius, because I really think it was a genius collaboration. First of all, you did something that I didn't think was going to work, and I went up and bought it, and it worked. The pepper was fantastic in the shake. And from a business perspective, I said it's fantastic because number one, you elevate your brand. Number two, you reach a totally different audience. And I think Shake Shack has the same type of coolness that Bar Leone, of at least how I perceive Bar Leone. I'm curious about how that collaboration came to be. Who has the idea of making a shake, a carbonara shake?
Actually, I agree. Like the collaboration came because one of their Shake Shack regional marketing team came to Leone once, but just as a guest, and we start to chat. And in that period, we just released our first RTD cocktail, and I remember that they also had an RTD drinks in Shake Shack, and I said, "Oh, please let me give you a few. Just try, let me know your thoughts." And I think I've been a little bit cheeky. I can't really just go into the details of what I told her, but basically, I've been a little bit aggressive, like in a cheeky way, in a fun way, verbally. Like I was teasing her a little bit, and I think she liked the bar, first of all, and I think I think she saw maybe. Bar Leone at that time, we didn't win any awards yet, but I think good on her that she sort of saw that there was some sort of potential. We could have had fun together. And I think, in the end, after a few months after their first visit and second visit, she reached out and she was like, hey, for our anniversary, we always want to do these local collaborations. They did one with Yarber the year before. Yarber is a brand that I like a lot.
Yes, yeah.
And I think we got inspired a lot by what they did in the past, especially when it comes to collaborations and building sort of the brand. I think honestly, it's probably my favorite brand in Hong Kong. If not one of my favorite brand in F&B, because I think they're really, really good. And they look at things in a different way. They always try to connect with like-minded people that are not necessarily from the restaurant industry, right? So anyway, they decided to do this. They say, look, we're going to do for the anniversary a collaboration with you. Why don't we do a Shake Shack, like a milkshake? But, we want to do the first boozy milkshake. We never had one, so people could choose boozy or non-boozy. And they asked me, look, why don't you come up with few ideas? And then we brainstorm, we R&D, and I said, sure. And I think originally we didn't have the carbonara milkshake as a first idea. We had a pina colada shake.
Mm-hmm.
We had a yuzu panna cotta shake idea. There was another one. There was a limoncello with some sort of stuff. I can't remember well. But then I think we had this gelato with Messina, which was a cacio e pepe gelato. We did this. We still have it.
I missed that one.
We still have it.
You still have it
we
in
still have
the
it
Bar
on
Leone?
Is a basically a collaboration with Messina where we asked them make us a flavor. The weirder the better. But we had the panettone gelato, we had the Negroni gelato, and then now we've been having the cacio e pepe, which is basically a cheese.
Where can I get this?
In Bar Leone.
In Bar Leone.
In Bar
Okay,
Leone.
I'll go there. Yes.
But it's basically a cheesecake gelato with tons of black pepper.
Yes.
And thinking about this milkshake with Justin, my business partner, I said, it would be very fun to do like a cacio e pepe. But then I was like, we already have the gelato, right? Let's go weirder. And then the carbonara idea came. But if you break down what an ice cream is, it's basically zabaione. You can have the zabaione flavor, which is the custard flavor, which is egg yolk.
Yep.
You have these days you have a lot of savory elements introduced in gelatos. Sea salt and bacon and Five Guys as a bacon milkshake. And I think it worked very well because it tells the story also Bar Leone. We are from Roma. So we did the R&D, and the R&D took a while. Look, it was a 4 months R&D. And then we proposed the pina colada one. We proposed the limoncello one. Banoffee pie was my favorite, actually. We did the Banoffee whiskey milkshake, which was fucking unbelievable. Sorry for my French.
No, it's okay.
But then they choose the carbonara because I think it was the weirder one. And
I think from a marketing perspective, it was probably the winner.
Yeah.
But now I'm curious about the Banoffee, the whiskey one. No, super interesting. I hope you do more of these things. Like, and now meeting you, I see the fire inside. So
we always said with Justin, we said now is the time to think about the next collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we will come up with something. I think we want to do something for our anniversary in June. So we have enough time. We have a good 6 months. But I really like the idea is like we would love to engage with somebody that is not from F&B. I think the idea is that. And so the idea is to connect with a brand or an entity that it's not F&B but has the same value as us. So I'm excited. I don't know yet. It will come. It will come organically.
Yeah, right.
But we have a couple of cool ideas. I think we want to do something kind of crazy with Bar Leone now. Justin is not very sold on the idea, but we want to have something that is very stupid, but I think it would be very, very fun.
Don't tell the audience if it's not finished, but you can tell me after the mic is off. There is one thing I want to ask you. Before, you were mentioning one of your worries for the future, for the next 6 months, is to keep. You said to keep the team healthy, and I have seen you again. We were not close before, but I saw you recently get into an amazing shape. Number one, you are a gym influencer, and number two, I bump into you sometimes in Bowen Road when you go running, and I'm like, I wanted to ask you about this because I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, that the number of guest shifts that you do now overseas has grown. So traveling for events, for things, and that screws up your routine, how you sleep, how you eat, how you drink, of course, because you go to different places. People want to make you try new things. Yeah. How can you keep healthy and fit and looking always at the target in this period?
It's tough. Like, honestly, it's like a choice. But the Romans used to say mens sana in corpore sano, which means healthy mind, healthy body, which I believe, but I'm not very good in following that Roman phrase. But I think in the end of the day, I know that now this is the time to really push hard, right? I know, I'm aware of it. And I think I have the energy, I have the creativity. And for me, the only way to, do this, it's to take care of myself as much as I can. So I don't drink at work.
Never.
I don't drink at home. I drink when I go out. If I have day off, if I'm traveling, yes, I do drink because I like it. But also I think it's part of the socializing element part of my profession, right? But I don't drink at work. I don't drink at home. I try to eat healthy. I like running. I started to run like recently, like 5 years ago. Actually, 4 years ago. I never ran before, but now I start to enjoy. I'm enjoying it. And the gym thing, I don't love gym, but I sort of like realize how important it is also for, just keep my mind sort of like to have a goal. And I think it's not about having a six pack, but it's about having that consciousness that I do as much as I can to be fit. But at the same time, there was a period when I did this transformation. Transformation sounds like I don't know, I become like Mr. Olympia, but no, I think I was with this personal trainer, James from HIT PT. Amazing process, but also I realized it was amazing program, an amazing journey. The diet is tough. The diet is tough. I mean, I'm aware of what's not good for me. I'm aware that carbs are not good. I'm aware that processed food is not good. But sometimes when you work with 12 hours, 14 hours a day, it's tough to cook the meal. I work 14 hours a day. I wake up at 7:30, 8 a.m. I go for a run. At 10 a.m. I'm already doing paperwork, connecting, email stuff. And then if I'm not on the road, I'm at Bar Leone, and I'm at Bar Leone till midnight, 1 a.m. So you make the calculation. 7:30 a.m., 8 a.m. till midnight, 1 a.m.
And you are very close, within reach of things that are very tasty, and maybe they are not super good for you.
So it's about really trying to be very focused, make a lot of sacrifices. Like my social life is not very exciting, to be honest. I don't go out basically, because my day off is usually Monday. But if I'm not traveling, yes, I have a day off, half day off. But most of the time I'm traveling, so I use my day off. When you have your own business, there is no day off. First of all,
yes,
that's something that I quickly realized. But I think so. But I am aware that this is the time, right? This is the time I made a choice, and the choice is now I sacrifice certain things to perhaps building this platform. It's important to not burn out, because sometimes I'm on the edge of like, I'm tired. I feel that now I'm really feeling it, that the pressure, the stress, the tiredness, it's really eating on me. And that's when I really need to make the decision to take a step back. Luckily, I have an amazing team. My business partner is amazing as well. He understands, he sees that, because it's not just the amount of work. It's about, you need to talk to people. So in the bar, you need to be always 100%. You need to be positive.
Yeah.
So for me, in order to do this, if I would go out every night after work, if I would eat junk food, I would probably die of tiredness. I would probably be exhausted, and I wouldn't be able to have the clarity. For example, now in November, it was the worst months because I did too many travels, and I realized it, because I've been in Hong Kong 10 days, 12 days, I think.
Wow.
And when I'm in Hong Kong, I'm at the bar. Yesterday I was at the bar, tonight I'm at the bar, so I try to be here as much as possible. But I realized that it really drained me, but also it sucked energy and creativity from my brain. Yeah. So I was not able to think projects that I want to do, ideas that I have in mind. I was like sort of stuck. So I think it's important to have time when, we sort of like detach a little bit from the madness, and even just staying home or like catch up with a friend, go for a walk, go for a hike. even go to the movies by myself. I think in this moment is when you get the creative ideas, flow
100%.
back,
100%. But you said that you don't follow, but it looks as if you follow. So for me, let's say, I think you're doing things the best that you can. I'm 37. I've been doing a life of traveling apart from COVID for the last 12 years. To give you a benchmark, I normally travel around 150, 180 days per year for work. Then you have the holidays and everything apart. And I have learned the hard way that you need to stop sometimes, because my problem is I learned very recently to stop before the burnout. Normally I burn out
After.
and then I have to stop and then I have to go back. So diet, sleep. The thing is sleep. I started wearing this stuff. And when I started wearing this stuff, I started realizing the effects that different things had on my rest. So even a couple of glasses of wine, that's it, I'm Spanish, part of the culture. I had to stop doing these things, because otherwise, the day after, my brain is not the same, and a meeting with a client is not the same, a podcast is not the same. Now I have 2 kids, so it's not the same. So I think you're doing well.
No, thank you. I mean, to me, really, what I understood so far in this journey for me is that the most valuable things that we have, aside from our health, is the time. Time. Because honestly, like sometimes I wish like the day were like, 36 hours, because I can't do all the shit that I have to do. And I can't do the things that I like to do. So the moment that I don't follow my routine, or the moment that I deviate from my routine, I lose so much time. I love to have a night out and have like 9 martinis and 5 Negronis, and I've done those nights. Sometimes I do those nights. The day after, I can't function.
No.
So I think it's okay to have martinis. I learned that you gotta have balance. You gotta balance shit out, because at the same time you don't wanna live a monk life. At least I don't know. Some people might want to. I respect a lot of my friends that are hyper focused and are hyper committed to this like healthy lifestyle. Great. I admire them. I can't do that. Sometimes I wanna have my Negronis. But it's important to have the balance, because then you have this domino effect where you can't perform the way you have to, or the way you want, and you lose time.
Yes.
And then suddenly, if I lose time here, I lose time 1 hour here, 1 hour there. I need to get back those hours sometimes, and
Totally.
And then you miss moments, you miss opportunities, you miss podcasts like I did.
We did it.
Yeah.
We did it already. So no, I knew I was very positive it was gonna happen, and I was very selfishly interested in talking to you, because I tell you, it's very difficult to find such a good success story in this moment and time in Hong Kong in 2024. So you are a white fly in that sense, and you look. You hit the nail on the head. It's about time, and precise because of that, and double grateful because you made it today to do the podcast. I am sure that a lot of people know you from the social media, which is an amazing medium, but it only scratches the surface, and I think the story is very interesting, so I'm sure it will be very good for everyone. I enjoyed a lot.
Thank you,
Lorenzo. Thank you for making it with us. David, thank you as always for making everything happen. And for everyone else, I can already tell you this is not Friday, but it's going to be published on a Friday. So have a happy weekend and go to Bar Leone. You don't need me to tell you.
Come to Bar Leone.
Despite the fact that I was terrified, like the day after you won the best bar, the second best bar in the world, I happened to pass by at 5:15 and there was already a line, and it was a Tuesday, and I'm like, when am I gonna get my Negroni? So we need to find a solution for that. Be happy, keep subscribing and telling your friends about this. We will never be famous as Bar Leone, but we're trying. Thank you everyone, be happy, much love, ciao ciao.